In the heart of the great Nkuzi forest, there was a small village called Ojigo. This village was known far and wide, but not for reasons people might expect. The women of Ojigo were not known for their beauty. In fact, many people from other villages said the women of Ojigo were the ugliest in the land. Their faces were rough like the bark of an old tree, and their hair was thin and dried like withered grass. The men in the village often grumbled about this, but they loved their wives for their kind hearts. However, one day, a miracle happened in Ojigo. A woman of such beauty was born that even the sun seems to shine brighter when she smiled. Her name was Ene, and as she grew, so did her beauty. Her skin was smooth and golden, like the soft glow of evening sunlight. Her eyes sparkled like stars, and her hair flowed like a river of sleek down her back. When she walked through the village, men stopped what they were doing to watch her, their mouths wide open in wonder. Soon the men of the village started acting strangely. They all wanted to be near Ene. Young boys, old men, married men, it did not matter. They all wanted to have a taste of her beauty. They bought her gifts, baskets of fruits, fine clothes and beads made from the most beautiful stones. They told her how wonderful she was, hoping she would choose one of them to be her husband. But Ene had other plans. Ene was clever. She knew that her beauty could be used to achieve something far greater than marrying a man who admired only her looks. She had a goal, but she had to play her card wisely. She knew that if she rushed into anything, the men of Ojigo would quickly tire of her beauty and move on. So she decided to be patient and use her sense to outsmart them all. One day, Obioma, the strongest man in the village, came to her with a smile as wide as the river. He was known for his strength and pride, and he believed that no woman could resist him. He bought her a necklace made of rare shells and said, "Ene, I am the strongest man in this village. No one could match me. If you marry me, you will never lack anything. All the men in the village will envy you, and you will have the most comfortable life." Ene smiled softly and said, "Obioma, your strength is indeed great, and I thank you for your gift. But strength alone is not enough to win my heart. You must prove your strength in a way that no other man has. If you can climb to the top of the tallest tree in the village and bring me a leaf from its highest branches, then I will consider your offer." Obioma's pride swelled, and without wasting any time, he rushed to the tall Iroko tree at the center of the village. He began to climb, his muscles blubbering as he pulled himself higher and higher. But the tree was much taller than he expected, and halfway up, his strength failed him. He slipped and fell, landing with a loud thud on the ground. His pride was shattered, and the villagers laughed at him. Ene watched from her hut and smiled to herself. One man has been tested and he had failed. Next came Okeke, the richest man in the village. He owned large farms and had many servants. He believed his wealth could buy anything, including Ene's love. He came to her with sacks full of cowries and gold, saying, "Ene, there is no one richer than me. If you marry me, you will live in luxury. You will wear the finest clothes and eat the best food. No woman in this village will have a life as good as yours." Ene listened carefully and then said, "Okeke, your wealth is great and I am flattered by your offer. But wealth is not everything. If you can show me that your wealth can bring happiness to others, then I will consider your offer. Tomorrow, gather all the poorest people in the village and give them enough food and clothing to last a whole year. Only then will I see the true value of your riches." Okeke agreed, thinking it was a simple task. The next day, he called all the poor villagers to his farm and began to hand out food and clothes. But soon he realized that there were far more poor people than he had expected. His barns emptied quickly, and still there were people waiting in line. By the time he was done, Okeke had given away nearly all his wealth. His barns were empty and he was no longer the richest man in Ojigo. When he returned to Ene, he was no longer proud but humble. Ene smiled, for she had shown him that true wealth was not in gold or cowries, but in the heart of people. Still more men came. There was Eze, the best hunter, who thought his skills could win her over. Ene challenged him to catch the swiftest deer in the forest, and when he failed, he realized that even the greatest hunter had limits. Then came Nana, the village storyteller, who tried to impress her with tales of bravery and adventure. But Ene asked him to tell a story that could make even the saddest person smile. And when he could not, he learned that words alone were not enough to touch the heart. As each man tried and failed, Ene fame grew. The men of Ojigo began to realize that Ene was not a prize to be won, but a person to be respected and admired. But despite all these trials, Ene had still not revealed her true goal. She knew she had to be patient, for the right time had not yet come. She had a plan that would not only change her life, but also change the village of Ojigo forever. Ojigo village buzzed with eager anticipation. Every man, young and old, found himself captivated by Ene's beauty and charm. She had a presence that seemed to draw people in, a light that brightened every corner of the village. With every man set on trying to win her heart, Ene watched as each tried, failed, and tried again. Undeterred by impossible tasks, the village had become a stage with Ene at its center, each suitors attempting to outdo the last in hopes of catching her attention. As time passed, the men's attempts grew more creative and daring. Ene noticed the strange and wonderful lengths they would go to, often shaking her head with an amused smile. One afternoon, Emeka, the fastest runner in the village, challenged himself to cross the river in record time to bring Ene a rare flower that only grew on the other side. Villagers lined the river bank, clapping and cheering as Emeka sprinted into the water, determined to prove his dedication. His friends chanting his name and energy palpable. Emeka dove into the swift current, battling the river's powerful flow. His eyes fixed on the prize he would offer her. He returned hours later, soaked and panting, the rare flower held high above his head. Ene met him with her unusual calm, grateful for his effort but offering only a gentle smile and a soft thank you. The crowd gasped as he returned undeterred and proud that he had done something no one else had attempted. Not long after, Okonkwo, a strong and daring hunter, decided he would climb the tallest palm tree in the village to retrieve the sweetest, ripest fruit for Ene. Villagers gathered around, holding their breath as Okonkwo began his climb. His muscles straining and his brow beaded with sweat. He pushed himself higher and higher, his strength visible to everyone below. Children cheered, and even the older men watched with admiration. When he finally reached the top, he let out a triumphant shout, gathering the fruit and tossing it down to the crowd below. Yet when Okonkwo quietly brought the fruit to Ene, she accepted them with a kind smile, but only thanked him for his bravery, explaining that she had enough fruit at home. Though he tried to hide his disappointment, the village roared with laughter, cheering for his courage and the spectacles he had created. As the sun began to set, the men of Ojigo gathered at the center of the village, where a large fire was lit. They were no longer rivals but champions, sharing laughter and stories of their feast for Ene. The entire village joined in the celebration, each person recounting the various attempts and daring acts that had marked the last few weeks. Drums beat steady as villagers clapping and danced. The energy infectious and joyous. Yet, even in the midst of all this, Ene had one final challenge that she had yet to reveal. As the fire cracked and laughter filled the night air, she rose, her eyes gleaming with a playful smile. "Your challenges have impressed me," she began, her voice carrying over the crowd. "But now I have one last request." The men leaned forward, eagerly hanging on her every word. "I ask that the man who wishes to win my heart find the courage to confront his greatest fear and return here tomorrow night to tell me what he had conquered." The crowd buzzed with excitement and curiosity. Each man wondered what his final test could mean. Some murmured about facing wild animals, others spoke of traveling far into the forest. All were ready to do whatever it took to prove their courage.